Alrighty, we're getting started here. Let me get to a screen where you can see. It took me a minute to figure out where the buttons were. Oh my goodness. I think they moved them just to make me nuts. That I forget. Oh, it's the gray hair. That's what does it. That's what it is. All righty. Well, hopefully you can hear me just fine. Everything seems to be working. I see that Luke is in the room. Woo woo. So Luke is here. This is something we have been working on for a while. Hopefully we got this going. The last Boy Scout we have in the room. I hope not. I hope he's not the last Boy Scout. That would not be good. All righty. Well, we have a lot to talk about. And this is something that I need to work on. Okay. I need to work on this live format. It's one of these things that's been an extreme challenge for me. I'm used to radio and some other things as far as the broadcasting. I was on WDBO for many years and just had a blast and enjoyed my radio time. I have a face for radio, as they say. So it's one of those things, but scouting has always been my passion. I grew up in scouting, and this is something that I really enjoy doing. And this channel gives me the forum to cover some subjects that are not really covered many places. Sometimes they're serious, a lot of times they're not. So that's up to you, the viewer. This is a chance for us to get together and talk a little bit. If you have questions, if you're in an area that's struggling, or if you're in an area that's succeeding at something, let us know. We'll talk about it. That's something that I know a lot about scouting history. I know a lot about different things in scouting. And I've dealt with a lot of different leaders. So that's something that I can give to our community and definitely try to help with that. If I'm having audio issues or if there's a problem, it looks like everything on this end is working. Okay, so hopefully everything's good. Ken is here. He's one of our supporters. That's awesome. So we have Cody in the house. We have Matthew. Oh my, we have a bunch of you loyal viewers. This is awesome. So, but definitely join in. A lot of times I cannot actually see very well the screen. The type is extremely small. So sometimes I will mess up the question. I will try to read it out, but it's just really small. I need to do this more often so that I can learn how to make that bigger, big text. As you can see, my glasses are quite thick, and my vision is not the best that it's been throughout my life. So, and that's just age, but that's something that I will work on. We've had some interesting episodes come up. I believe Kicked Out of Scouting. That's a very fashionable thing for a lot of famous people to make that claim. But we know people that don't belong in scouting, and they've been asked to move on. So this is something that we deal with as scout leaders. A lot of times it's because of YPT. So, and that, I really didn't talk about that part of it. When you're dealing with YPT, which is the youth protection training that everyone is expected to keep current and up to date, you're also supposed to keep when you do your application every year, there's a background check that's run. So sometimes there's a violation of those things. And because of that, they cannot continue in scouting. It ends at that point because they had an issue that came up with one of those things. So that I didn't even really talk about in the video. I talked more about the charter organization. As a unit commissioner, I'm actually chartered with our district in council. I'm not with any particular unit. If you look at a unit commissioner's uniform, you'll notice that they don't have any numbers. It's because they're not attached to a unit. So that being the case, it is critical to understand that if there's a problem with that unit commissioner and they are let go from scouting, that's a council thing. That's a district council thing. So if it's a unit, on the other hand, if it's a scout or a parent or a leader in that unit, they're the ones that really have to move on, and that's all done through the charter organization. They're really the ones that run all that. And I think that was one of the biggest things that a lot of people were kind of confused about, was that process. And that was the whole reason for that video. I was hearing different things from famous people bragging about how they got kicked out of scouting because they were such a bad boy or such a, whatever. That's not always the case. Sometimes they're just no longer involved in scouting. They didn't really get kicked out. So it's a fashionable thing. So I don't know how that could be fashionable, but I guess being the bad boy of media or something, that makes it okay for some reason. I don't know. But let me get caught up. I noticed there's a bunch more people. James is here. And I did say Ken. You'll notice that Ken has the nice little fleur-de-lis next to his name. Ken is a financial supporter of the channel. So, and you can do that too. We need to do a membership drive. This is something that's important as things come up. Let's see. Fire Council, Illinois. Good old Illinois. Let's see. We've got James, Luke again. I think Luke, you'd already checked in. So that's awesome. Wow. New York. Fantastic, Luke. New York. When I was a child, my father was a professional scouter, and he ran the Saratoga Council. And that was it's upstate New York, Saratoga. And so beautiful. Saratoga is absolutely beautiful. I can remember as a scout, we would go down and we were the security. Now, this is a long time ago. We were the security to keep people from jumping up on stage during the bands and stuff at night for the Saratoga Fair. So I remember that. My first job was as a stable hand, was to clean up stables. And my goodness, racehorses can really mess up a stable. So yeah, that was something I did as a youth. But New York is gorgeous. So, but yes, that's a beautiful place. Ohio, Trenton. That's the thing. I lived the life of a scout, the scout professional, and I was dragged around all over the Northeast. My father was with I believe it was the Buckeye Council out of Mansfield, Ohio. We lived in Gallion. And in fact, my first membership card, which I found, is weird. I was going through my stuff and I found my very first membership card, and it was Gallion, Ohio, where I joined Cub Scouts. Go figure. So that was back in the day. New York, we have Rochester. Let's see. Do we have any questions out there? Any burning concerns that need to be addressed? So, let's see. Cody. Wood badge. Wood badge is a blast. You know what? I think it was yesterday, I got a question about wood badge. And it was from a Green Beret, former Green Beret, wondering why he needed more training. And, I've talked to leaders that have gone through the military training, and it's different than the civilian training that happens with Wood Badge. So Wood Badge is valid, okay? Even though you've had all kinds of military training and management training and all those things, Wood Badge is important. It is a critical skill for a lot of leaders to get into and learn. It is a management skill, so definitely do that. Okay, Luke. Okay, Wood Badge is a blast. Got that. Former Brooklyn Council here. Wow. Clayton, hello. Alrighty. Got my Brotherhood yesterday. Fantastic. There's really two levels. There's the ordeal level and then the Brotherhood level. The Vigil is only added on to your Brotherhood sash. You still wear a Brotherhood sash with the Vigil thing on it. So, think of it that way. So it's not a third level. So, but there's only two, really. And it's that membership process. And we have talked about that on the channel. We have videos about all that. So, yep, it is. And, the thing is, when you're a member of the Order of the Arrow, the membership is permanent. As long as you have a valid membership in a unit or in the council or in the district, I believe you have to pay your dues for the OA. That's how you keep that going, and it's permanent. It goes on forever. You never have to do your ordeal again. You never have to do your Brotherhood stuff again. That is a one-time deal, and that's the wonderful thing about that. All right. Ooh, there's more stuff popping up here. We got a bunch of people here tonight. That's awesome. Okay. Let's see. Unit commissioner and other district council positions are available at 21 years of age or older. Yes. In fact, it's important to understand that what Hannah, is it Hannah? No. Can't really see. It looks like 3 S's in his name. But anyways, when you're dealing with council and even troops, you want adults that are 21. There's that gray, that 36-month thing between 18 and 21. That has been a major bone of contention for some people. They don't realize that, and it's and it breaks down to being a legal issue, and that's beyond the scout. Okay, that becomes a legal thing. So that's really where that's all coming from. So you need to have 21's not that long. It's only 36 months between 18 and that. I mean, it's just 3 years. So, but yeah. You definitely need that. So, but 21 is that's when you can be doing district stuff and council stuff and all that. That's totally fine. Let's see. Oh, they're coming in. All righty. Many thanks, Matthew. Thank you, Cody, Luke, Brotherhood. Okay, level. Sounds interesting. Congratulations, Cody. Yes, congratulations. Let's see. Looks like Blake. Am I seeing that right? Yeah, Blake. I just went through my ordeal last weekend. Ordeal, you only have to do it once. The illegamat thing that you hear about on the channel, and that's voluntary. You get to choose to do that. That's up to the individual. But I do recommend that. Not right away, Get your brotherhood. Do the time period. Work with your unit, and then go for that. That is important. And then when you do a ligomat, that is awesome. I'm reminded every day. I have here right next to the monitor a patch. This is I've been meaning to put this on the other side of my sash. I met up with the very first ligomat. My lodge actually started all of that, and the very first ligomat. We were at Tenaw, and that's the Tipasaw Native American Weekend out at Lenoche, which is in Central Florida. And we met up there, and we struck up a friendship. He gave me a patch, and I need to put it on my sash. So, because I've done a ligomat several times, and every time it is wonderful. So definitely see the video on that. Later, I'll put it up there. Now, I really don't edit these things. The reason that I don't touch the live ones, because if I was to change anything, take any of the boo-boos out, guess what? All of the chat disappears. Okay, it becomes disconnected, and there's no way to put it back on. So if you're watching the live, you're watching the live, okay, the unedited live. I can put things in, but that's about it. I can't really add any sound effects or edit anything out. So that long period at the beginning, and I started that because they kept moving the button. I couldn't find it. So that's going to be there. Okay. So that's just the process. That's the crazy thing. Let's see. A ligomating next month. Woo. A ligomat is fun. That is something that we started in the Tipasaw Lodge back early 70s, I think is when that started. And it caught on nationally. So it's a really good program. So definitely see the video on it. So definitely. All righty. We've talked about kicked out of scouting, which doesn't happen. History of the Den Chief. Now that's what's going on right now. It's funny is that all of the programs I've been using to kind of promote the channel told me to put secrets of the Den Chief and all that. I thought it was a little clickbaity. So I thought, let's just, call it what it is. It's amazing. Okay. So it's amazing history of the Den Chief. And what floored me about it was that the original idea was that the Den Chief, the youth from the troop, was going to run the den completely on their own in the 30s. I can imagine the chaos, okay? And there's some history to that, and Seton had a lot to do with that. James West was involved. Baden-Powell, of course, had wolf cubs over in England. And, so there was a lot of really fascinating history. And they did experiments for a while. But West was really nervous. He was worried that scouting needed a good, sound foundation in order to support another part of it, which would be Cub Scouts. So he kind of said, let's wait a little bit. Let's not be so anxious to jump into that right away. And there was some debate between him and Seton about it, and they worked it out. So they worked it out, and they did their experiments, and they were and they literally started Cub Scouting. 1930 was the very first packs that were actually put out there. But the Den Chief from a troop was the leader, and that could be a problem because you can imagine, that den leader might only be about 2 years older than the Cub Scouts that are in his den. So there could be some issues there. There could be some problems. So quickly they realized that they needed an adult leadership to come in, and den mothers were put in there. Den mothers, basically came in as support for the Den Chief. And then, of course, the inevitable happened. The management switch happened where the adult ran the den, and the den chief became sort of the helper, the assistant. So that carries on even today. So but that history was fascinating, absolutely fascinating. So we were able to get that one put together, and I put that. That's out there right now. I think the one coming up for right now, it's Be Proud to Be in Uniform. Okay. And a lot of scouts get a little nervous about that, wearing uniform. And don't be worried. There's far too many people out there trying to make something out of nothing. Okay. So don't go down that road. Wear your uniform, wear it properly, and wear it wherever you might be. As long as it's scout appropriate. If you got to go to the grocery store and pick up some ice and you're in uniform, go ahead. You'll be surprised. There are a lot of former scouts out there that recognize that uniform. And you might just, get a handshake and some thank yous for the work that you do as a scout leader. Scouts, too. Scouts, this is something that we need to do. Let's see. Luke. That's a good thing. Okay. I'm looking over some of the... Yep. Okay. I'm just looking at the chat, making sure everybody's happy. No big questions and stuff. So, but as far as the being proud to be in the uniform, there's a lot of places where the uniform is expected, and we were, the uniform goes back. I mean, if you think about it, when Baden-Powell was in the siege of Mafeking in South Africa in the Second Boer War, the cadets, they were in uniform, so that made them cadets. They weren't just the local kids. They were the cadets. They actually ran that division of the town. They did the delivery of the mail and helped with supplies and stuff like that. So the cadet corps had a uniform. There's a photograph in the video of the cadet corps from Mafeking. So that's kind of where it carries over, because when you put boys and girls in a uniform, they're no longer boys and girls, they're scouts. That's why we're a uniform organization. It takes away all of the biases that come up when you see youth that are not in uniform. They may have non-scout appropriate attire, things on their T-shirts that would not even be acceptable in school. So that's and then you make those bad assumptions. So when the uniform's on, you don't have to worry about that. So they become scouts. That's the neat thing about it. So that's kind of the video that I've got coming up. We talk about ceremonies, mega high level uniforming. When you put all the doodah on. You're going to a court of honor or a memorial service or something like that. You want to look good. You want to really have all that on there. So then there's places you don't want to wear it. So, we briefly talk about that too. So those are some of the videos that are coming up. There's some that are still in development. I kind of went off on the Mafeking thing because that I've been researching some stuff about that. I need more time on that one, so I might get pushed back about a week. So, but there's a lot of research on that, and it's amazing all of the different facets that came up during that time. That's the neat thing, and I keep going down the rabbit hole. I keep going off in every direction, and that makes research kind of hard. So, and that's the tough part about it. I don't grow up in scouting, but I know. All right, Luke. I didn't grow up in scouting, but I know how to lead a team to success. Yeah, yeah, that's true. I was lucky. As a youth growing up in scouting, my father was devoted to scouting. His entire life was devoted to it. And it was quite an experience. There were times when we moved places where the council could not afford much as far as relocating, services and monies and stuff like that. So I didn't know it. I mean, we kind of grew up kind of poor. So that was just the scouting way. So we made sure to make do. My mother was a part-time substitute teacher and made almost twice as much as my dad did because of scouting. So it was more of a ministry. If you think about it, it's more of a ministry. But I grew up in that, and so I got to see a lot of that stuff. And leadership that we develop in scouting is so critical to America's youth. We need to do that. We need to keep doing what we're doing. Keep getting all those courses and working with our scouts. Recently, I've announced it here that I was asked to lead up the advancement group for my district. I went from recruiting to advancement. And when I did that, I got to do the best job there is in scouting, and that's Eagle Boards of Review. I love them. Those are great. Okay, so if you get a chance, definitely do an Eagle Board of Review. Because they are amazing. They are absolutely amazing. Because you think about it, you're talking with the best scout that unit has produced. Okay, that's the first thing, and you're doing that with some of the leaders from that unit that produced a good scout. So it is a great evening to really celebrate all of the wonderful leadership capabilities that comes through in scouting. That's the beautiful thing about that. So if you get a chance to do it, I highly recommend it. I've only done about 20 this year. So it's been tough. I had 3 weeks off for COVID. I got the COVID, the nasty one. So, and it's a little bit, you can kind of tell it's in my throat still, but I'm negative, so I'm not infectious or anything. I haven't been for several weeks. So, but I missed an episode of the ScouterStan channel. I missed an actual episode because I was quite sick. I couldn't record. So, but with that, I decided to make several videos that will be held in reserve. They're evergreen videos. And if something comes up where I'm ill, I can definitely play those instead. So, and they'll be just as good, I hope. But that's stuff that's in the works right now. Now, let me see if I can see this. Boy, the printing on this is really small. Thoughts on its approval. Wear the old BSA. Are you talking about wearing an old uniform? Like a green uniform? I think this one is for Caspaway. CPS Way wants to know if you can wear an old uniform. The weird thing about scouting is that the supply division has, to my knowledge, has never done away with any of the uniforms. If you have the uniforms from the 1930s and it's complete and it's current to that time period, you could wear it. That's the amazing thing about it. So if you have an old uniform, let's say the old green ones from the 70s, the all green uniform, make sure that all of your patches match, to the time period, it's important to specify the year. So if you have a green uniform, there's a big difference between the uniform of 1977 and the green uniform of 1975. Okay, and I know that's just a few years, but there's a difference. The one you have for 1975 has different patches on it. The one you have for the Jamboree year, which would mean 1977, that has obviously the Jamboree patch on it. So that's something to think about. So you have to specify what year. But wearing the nostalgic uniforms from those time periods, those are awesome, especially if you go to a meeting and you can tell people about that uniform and give them ideas about the different patches that you have on it that are different than the ones they have now, the different badges that they wore. That's totally fine. That's totally. I don't think they've actually disallowed or disavow. I don't know what they would call that. They've never done any of that. So those uniforms are just as current to their time period as they are today. So if you're wearing them, that's fine. So, but make sure that you pick a year and stick with it. Don't put stuff on there from now. Okay, if you got a uniform from 1975, you can't put the new Jamboree patch on it. It just doesn't make sense. It's no longer current. Okay, so you want to use current stuff on current uniform, period stuff on the period uniform. Very important to keep it straight. Keep it honest. So when you look at it, it is nostalgic and it's current and correct. So very important. So let's see. Wear a tie. I'm not sure. Neckerchief. In England they call them neckers. Neckers. They shorten neckerchief, and they don't call them scarves. They're not scarves. Scarves go over your head. They don't go around your neck. So it's a different idea. But the neckerchief in the United States is really common. I know from personal experience that in the 70s, what was big was bolos. Bolos were huge. If you had a bolo of a scout thing, camp, event, the bolo took the place of the neckerchief. So that's a possibility. You could wear that. Let's see, thoughts off the appropriate wear of old BSA. You know what? You could wear an old neckerchief with current day uniform. Nothing, I don't believe anything in the uniform guide actually specifies that you have to wear current day stuff with the current day uniform as far as the neckerchief. Badges are a different story, okay? Because the NYLT for now was different back in the 70s. So it was a different patch, different training. It was different. So you really can't wear that unless you went through that training. So that if you went through that training in that time period, you probably could wear that. I, as an adult, cannot wear any kind of rank patch on my pocket, like an Eagle or First Class or any of that stuff, because that's in the actual guide. It actually says that in the guide. You can't really do that. There's certain rules, and that's a lot to do with membership. If you're a youth member, there's one set of rules for your uniform, and then there's another set for adults. So, that's something to keep in mind. But as far as the neckerchief, if I wanted to, I could wear the neckerchief of the 77 Jamboree because I went to it. I was there. I was at Moraine State Park. So I could wear that neckerchief if I wanted to. So that's totally fine. I think that's totally great. In fact, that would be nice. It's, and the uniform tells a story. I say that all the time, but I mean it. And when you see that on a uniform, that's going to bring some questions. And you should be prepared. If you're going to wear that shift scout reservation neckerchief, you should know where it was, what it was. Okay? That's all about, those things. I could tell you stories about the 77 Jamboree, as I was there as a youth. I was at the 77 Jamboree. So, and there's a lot of stories. So, but I did a lot of patch trading. It was amazing. So, but as far as neckerchief, yes, you can wear those. Not a problem. All right. Just the old ones with modern uniform. Yeah, as long as it's a neckerchief. But like I said, you got to be prepared to answer questions. If it looks cool and you got it off of eBay and it's from the 60s and you know nothing about it, that is going to raise more questions than just having the neckerchief. So you want to know about it, okay? Whatever the neckerchief might be. It might be staff from a camp that you like. It might be a jamboree. It could be a world jamboree. There's lots of different neckerchiefs. There are some neckerchiefs that are exclusive. The taupe neckerchief that I wear is exclusive for those who have gone through wood badge. So a youth wouldn't be wearing that. So that's something that may be problematic with wearing that. The same thing's true with beads and the woggle, the leather woggle and stuff like that. So, but that's specific for that particular part of the uniform. But if you're at an event, say for instance you're at a fundraiser for something, okay, it could be selling camp cards or popcorn sales or something like that, and you want to stand out in the crowd, you could wear something that you know about, that's important to you, or even something that might be important to your family. So that's something you might wear just to start the conversation, get the conversation going. That might be the way to do that. So that's a possibility. So, but in the 70s, the popular thing was the bowling. Oh my gosh, everybody had a bowling. I know I had like 2 or 3, which made it kind of strange because in the 70s they had this is the all green uniform from the 70s. They had shirts, dress uniform shirts with no collar. There was no collar. You wore a neckerchief, and to put a bowline on that just didn't look right. So, you got to stay with the design. You got to stay within the design aesthetics. TMR Museum in New York. I don't know what TMR. Too much reading? TMR? Okay. It is, that's the thing about trademark. Maybe that's trademark? TMR? I don't know. What's the TMR? Everybody wants to know what you're talking about. I want to know. FDR. Okay. Okay. You guys are funny. Yeah, that's awesome. That's funny. The thing is that there's a lot of different types of uniforms out there, and you want to research them and make sure that your patches and badges and things are in the right places, and the neckerchief and all of that stuff. There are times, and I was kind of looking at this a little bit differently nowadays. There are times when neckerchief slides were very popular through the 40s, 50s. Every scout would carve different neckerchief slides. So those were very popular in the day. Some of them are not appropriate for today. So you have to be kind of careful with that. If you're going to be wearing a period neckerchief slide, make sure that you're willing to take on the explanation. This is a neckerchief slide from the 40s. This is a neckerchief slide from the 70s. That's something you gotta really specify. And it's important to pick the year. I say that a lot. You got to pick the year. It could be within 2 or 3, but you got to pick the year that uniform matches, and keep everything on the uniform that way. So that's the important part. Batman size, yeah. I tell you, there's a lot of people in this chat room, and that's awesome. Let me check my timing here, make sure that all of my settings are right. And that is, it's like being in a spaceship. There's a lot of buttons, and some of those you don't want to press. That's the crazy bit about it. Oh, I needed that water. Woo. Alrighty. Well, we've got quite a few people in. Goodness gracious, how many we got in there? Oh my. It's amazing. Scout Expo. Remember Scout Show? I remember those. Scout shows, Scout Expos, those were awesome. I don't know if they do those anymore. I haven't been to one in years, so I don't think our council or district does them. We used to do them at University of Central Florida. We would do them over there at their Coliseum, and where they would have quite a few people over there, and it was nice, but I don't think we've done them in probably about 10 years. So it's been a while. But those expos are awesome. Scout expos are awesome. And they would have neckerchiefs and neckerchief slides and patches and so on. So, and that's always important. Your area where you are might have one. If you do, go ahead and put it in the comments. I'd like to hear about it. That is huge. Okay. Scout show or expo. Scout Expo was big. Scout Show, I think, is another term they used. There's a lot of different ones, different out there. We tried to do it in our I believe our council actually said each district, because my council is huge. It's all of Central Florida. And with all those counties and all the different districts, they said each district needs to do their own. So that's kind of how they did, and it just didn't go beyond that, unfortunately. Very popular. I can remember when I was a Cub Master. That was a big thing every year. Every year we did stuff when, it was always you made something or you gave something away, or you showed a scout skill or did a game or something like that. It was great. Different booths for different units. It was always a lot of fun. So Scout Show was big. There we go. Looks like we got a few more comments in. That's awesome. Eagle, woohoo! Welcome to the Eagle's Nest. It's a big thing. Tradeory, yeah, those are good. I've been to a lot of tradeories. The thing is, they need to be publicized within scouting, and they do well if you mix it with another event. Our council just had its 100th anniversary, and they brought out the museum. They had special displays. They had all that stuff, and they had a tradeory. So it was kind of, they had everything there, and they had all the Cub Scouts and all the troops, and it was amazing, absolutely amazing. It was quite the celebration. We even had fireworks. So, I mean, it was quite an event that the council put on. A lot of fun. But if you can combine it with that, you'll get more people to come out. And one of the big things that I've noticed at traderies that are not held at a big event is that they need to publicize those to the troops and through the Cub Scouts and ask them to come out as a unit to those things. And that way it's a day event that they can go to and look at all the neat patches and stuff. And a lot of times in our council in our district, when they do a traderie, they will actually give the youth patches. Now, these are just camporee patches, leftovers, whatever. But they end up trading back and forth and really getting the trading of patches going again. And that's one of those things. Trading of patches is huge. If you go to NOAC, if you go to a jamboree, if you go to World Jamboree, they do a lot of trading of patches, badges. This is a very common thing that they do. So I think that's something that was lost somewhere in a generation. There was that loss of trading. These different events, and sometimes people have different things. I did a video called Patch Crazy, and it was literally, and it talks about all the different categories, and it really tries to get people to go and do those things and go to the traderies and stuff, But that's different than the Scout show. I remember as a kid, I think we were, where were we? We were in Illinois, I think. And one of the Scout units did a big safety display. And they would bring in wrecked cars. And they had this area that they would set up like a car wreck with smoke and I think flames at one point. It was pyrotechnics going on. And I mean, it was quite a show. But it was to explain, wear your seatbelts, that kind of stuff. And they would run big sirens, and everybody would run over to this little round stage where they would stage this, and the curtains would draw back, and there'd be this terrible car wreck. That was their thing. Now today, that might be a little bit of a problem, but back in that was early '80s, so that was fine. That was pretty dramatic. It got the point across, and it was basically road safety. But that was the Scout shows. They had all different kinds. I saw one that had where you went into it's like a dark tunnel, construction tunnel, and it was all darkened. And then as you walk through, you could see the different constellations for stars. And if you went to each one and wrote down the special number next to it, you get a prize at the end. So that was, there's a lot of fun things. It was educational. It was fun. It was, there's a lot of neat stuff out there. So kids need to be at a traderie. Yes, I agree. They need to be at the traderies. That's important, Henry. Henry S. Let's see. My troop dedicated a whole meeting. Okay. Inviting the Cub Scouts and the troops. Oh, okay. Wow. That's really cool. Not a single Cub showed up. It was disappointing. It's promotions, and sometimes it's not necessarily the Cub Scouts, it's the parents. Okay? When you're dealing with Cub Scouts, you got to get the parents involved and committed to being to doing events. That's the thing. troops need to keep that in mind. The parents of the Cub Scout, that's the one you want to talk to. That's the one you want a commitment from. The Cub Scout, yeah, they want to do fun stuff, but if their parents aren't available to take them to it, it's not going to happen. So, but that's the important bit, is that you need the parents' buy-in. They have to know. So that's the only downside to it. Communication, pack communications, and I harp on this a lot. Den chiefs, okay? Den chiefs are the connection between the troop and the pack, and den chiefs can, as a youth, can go in and get the attention of a lot of the parents. So that might be a great way to communicate to the unit. The Cub Master and the Scout Master need to call one another and get that information conveyed. The committees, a lot of them are connected, so they need to be connected with communications. Almost every unit today has newsletters, texting, all the different multimedia things that are out there. So communicating with the Cub Scouts of what's going on with the Boy Scouts, that's the important bit, or Scouts BSA. Even though BSA is Boy Scouts of America. Okay. So, but yes, communication is key. Yep, boy led. Exactly. And that's where your den chiefs jump in. But they need to understand that the Weeblo, little Billy, is not the one to really sell. Okay? It's the parents, because they've got to make the commitment to drive that Cub Scout and be there with that Cub Scout at whatever event. So that's the important bit. So make sure that the youth know that that's the proper communication route. What is your vigil name? It starts with hiatus. Let me see if I got it written down anywhere. It's over my it's over my head right here. Hiatus Soshi Etuketh Etapekatath, I think is the actual pronunciation of it. It means makes work fun. Of course, when I looked it up, it's if you look at the translation from what I looked up, it makes fun of work. So I'm good with that. So it's all interpretation. It's all in how you. I just go by hiatus. My father's vigil name was very small. It was like 4 or 5 letters long. Most of them vowels. I can't even pronounce it, but it meant owl. Okay, because come from the owl is the wood badge totem that they like. So, and he was the owl, and he was quite something. A lot of communications, yes. When they get into Weeblos and they start wearing the gray or the tan shirts, they start doing that. They're getting ready to be loyal scouts. Many of the troops that they're crossing over to need to start communicating directly to the parents. They need to get them into the mailing list. They need to get them into the call list, the texting, the whatever the social media stuff that they're using. Keep in mind, you got to keep that too deep leadership. You got to keep, and especially if youth are involved, you got to keep that too deep leadership going. You need to keep everything communicating correctly within the policies of Boy Scouts. So definitely get them involved. Get them involved in it. That's critical. They're not likely to go from Cub Scouts to a troop that they don't know. Okay. So that is part of that recruiting. That's where my recruitment comes in. The den chief is the bridge. But if you don't put guide rails on it with communications, you're going to have people falling off the bridge. So that bridge is there to help the Cub Scout go from the pack to the troop. So going from one space to the next. That's the key. And keeping that communications open is really important. So, great vigil name. Thank you. You don't get to choose. Somebody else chooses for you. So it's a little bit different. As far as the actual pronunciation, I'm trying to think of the native language that it's in is Seminole, but it's the traditional Seminole, I think, or maybe it's Lenni Lenape. It might be Lenni. That might have been it. But that's I'm not that fluent in that language, so that is it. Saying those words is difficult. In fact, that's a big funny thing. A lot of times during the vigil dinners or whenever the vigil members get around, the honor members, they'll have everybody stand up and say their Indian name. So it's you could be funny about it, but that's that's scouting. That's called being friendly and courteous. So that's all about it. Let's see. Eagle Project. Yes, I had an Eagle Project. It was quite interesting. Let's see. Catching up, Mr. Mosley. Future of Scouting. Yes, there was a recent survey of scouts and scouters that was talking about the Order of the Arrow. There's been some talk about that. I don't know any of the specifics from national. I'm an adult leader, okay, from my council. So that may change over time, but I'm not sure. I am really not sure what's going to go on with the Order of the Arrow. I think honestly, myself, I think it's fine the way it is. I don't think there's any issues with the Order of the Arrow. There might be as far as membership and the aging, because there's that 18 to 21 thing. That could be a problem. But they'll work it out, but that's and that's a youth protection issue, and it's way beyond what I do in scouting. Okay, so keep that in mind. But I'm hopeful that the Order of the Arrow stays the way it is. I don't think they're really going to make any severe changes. If they do, it might be over time. That's at the end of the day, it's their organization. So I'm just a member. All right, Kid's got one in here. Awesome. Means spiritual one, yes. Oh, Eagle Project. I wanted to tell you about my Eagle Project. My Eagle Project was clearing land. I was living in North Chicago at the time. I cleared land for a mousetrap. Now, keep in mind that the North Chicago woods are gone. Okay, they're no longer there. I think they're apartments now. But for the longest time, there was a big square right in the middle of the woods that was prairie. All the trees had been pulled out of the ground, literally. And that was my Eagle Project, was to pull all the trees out of the ground in a 4 square acre thing. Took it out. They built a moat around it. They put the Massasauga rattlesnakes in the square, and then they had these special concrete bridges that the mice would go across. And once they went across, they couldn't get back off the little island, and the snakes ate them. So it was kind of a neat little mousetrap. So that was my Eagle project, was to clear the land so that the school could come in and put the snakes in, and all the dens for the snakes and all the drainage and then the moat and all that stuff. That was all other people. But for the longest time, I could see it with Google Earth. I could actually go there and look at it with Google Earth. You might be able to do it still and just dial it back. But I believe that there's apartments built over that particular spot now. So it's been gone for some time. So, but that was my Eagle project. I learned a lot about, in that time, back in the early 80s is when that was going on. Using machinery there wasn't the guide to safe scouting. And using tractors and chains and things to yank stumps out of the ground. That was a lot of fun for a teenager. So that was a lot of fun. So, but I had a great crew, and they worked really hard, and we were able to convert woods into a prairie, which was unusual for the area. The problem was that the woods was breeding ground for mice and rats, and they would just run down into Chicago. And it was a real problem. And some nights they said the whole road would be covered with mice running into Chicago. Just something else. But this mousetrap solved that problem. So that was the neat thing. So it was kind of a neat little project. My son's Eagle project actually burned up on television. So my son's project, he had refurbished a swimming dock into a fishing dock for the local Girl Scout camp. And then they had a forest fire, 10 years, probably 10 years after that. And we're watching the news, and it was literally my son's dock on the news that they were showing pictures of, completely engulfed in flames because of this forest fire. It wiped it all out, that whole section. So it was it's sad to see it go, but it was a great, the Girl Scouts loved it. They used it quite a bit. They had 2 actually in that area, and they both burned. As far as I know, the Girl Scout camp, it's still there, but that part of the camp has been just cordoned off. They're letting nature reclaim it so that the woods come back. And there's pine trees in Florida that have pine cones that have to burn. They have to actually melt the stuff on the outside of it, and that way they will start growing. So that's kind of what's going there. It's a big forest that's growing. It had to be 10 years ago. So it's been 20 years total. Time flies. Dang. It's an amazing thing. Let's see. Regalia. Yeah, a lot of it did talk about that. Back on that OA thing, talking about the regalia. With the OA here in Central Florida, we have a lot of Seminole tribe members that help us to make sure that we're not culturally appropriating anything and offending anyone. So we really don't do a lot of the costuming that's been going on. We try to keep it kind of mild and respectful, and I think that's true across the nation. There's for the past 20, 30 years, they haven't done any kind of war paints or any kind of makeup or anything like that. So we're trying to be respectful because we want to honor that leadership. Okay. And that's the whole thing about the regalia. And they don't even call it costumes. They used to. It used to be, they would costume up or something like that. But regalia is to honor those indigenous cultures, so that we can coexist and stay in that harmony. So, and that's the wonderful thing about it. But I think that's really what it was talking about, is the regalia. And of course, the whole thing with the principles and stuff to do with the OA, because this is an open forum, I'm not going to really go into great details, but a lot of times with those principles, we want to keep them current. We want to be kind and courteous to them. And Tipasaw, my lodge, the one that I wear, let's see if I can got it on my patch. Yeah, this one here. This is my lodge patch. We do a lot of that stuff. In fact, the Brotherhood ceremony for National was written by a group of scouts that I worked with, that actually were working with the local cultures and actually developing the new Brotherhood ceremonies. So that's something to think about. And we want to be courteous. That's major. And the survey was about regalia and those kinds of things. Let's see. I think I got most of it. Eagle Project was in 1993. Small bridge in a park. Yeah. Still there. That's awesome. It's nice that you can go back and visit an Eagle Project. That was, for years, they would go, the fishing docks that my son and another Daniel, there was Daniel, my son, Daniel, and another Daniel from the troop, built docks or repurposed the swimming docks into fishing docks, with rails and seating and all that stuff. So they redid these things, and some of them were kind of teetery and stuff, so we had to redo some of the posts, and a lot of the boards had to be replaced. I mean, it was quite a rebuild, and we would go out there and definitely enjoy those kinds of things, and a lot of people enjoyed them. Unfortunately, the forest fire burned it all, so, but in a few years' time, that waterfront hasn't changed. That inlet is the same. They had to go from swimming to fishing docks because the gators on that side of the lake was bad. they had gators everywhere. It was, you couldn't swim. There's no way. In fact, when we were working on that fishing dock, several of them were like, they would sit underneath the dock. It was just quite, gators can be kind of scary. So they're not they're a wild animal, and they need that space and respect. So, all right, I'm reading over some of the stuff here. BSA uniform and fellowship, friendship dance. I don't know. Huh. Hoop dancing. My father, when he was a scout in West Virginia, he was known for hoop dancing. That was something that he did. He was a hoop dancer. Not the Buckeye. What is the name of that? Not Johnny Epstein. Trying to remember the council of that particular area. But in West Virginia, he was known. He would go to different fairs and stuff and powwows and do the hoop dancing. That was something that he did. My family, appearance-wise, we look very Norwegian or Swedish or German. Okay, that is definitely from my mom's side of the family. My father's side of the family, Blackfoot, Indian, and German, and English. So those were the when you do the DNA thing, I got quite a mix. But it is amazing. There is some my believe it was my great grandmother's mother, great great grandmother, was Blackfoot, well, half, and she actually gave my father the medicine bag. So, and I ended up with the medicine bag when my father did pass. So it's been handed down through the family, and it's quite beautiful. It's beaded on the front. It's got the prayer circle, and it's beautiful, family-wise, and that's gorgeous. Okay, so as far as the culture, my father was big on the hoop dancing, and he was one of the few youth to do fire hoops, the hoop dancing with fire hoops. And his signature thing that he would end the night with was it was like a rolling ball of flame that he was actually hooping inside of. So it was quite. I did get to see him do it once. That I think it was at Camp Saratoga was his last big performance as a hoop dancer back in early '70s. So yeah, it was quite special. But hoop dancing is one of those things that is cultural to the different tribes throughout the United States. So it really depends on the tribe and who you're representing, and who's approved it and so on. Central Florida, we have a Seminole Indian culture where we have a hoop dancer. Goes to all the powwows. And powwows, if you've never been to a powwow that's not scouting, they're different, okay? And definitely take your troop or your Cub Scout group or whatever to those things. These are great ways for a lot of the indigenous communities, all the Indian communities throughout the United States, for them to raise money. So this is a great way to kind of support that. And enjoy that culture, and it's so proud and so wonderful. You want to be a part of that. So that's the neat thing about that particular going to a powwow. But we have one in Central Florida that goes all over the United States to many powwows and does hoop dancing, and all the different. They're fascinating to watch. And I highly recommend it. So if you get a chance, definitely go out there and do that. So let me make sure I'm all caught up here. We got Ken. Alrighty. Ken, you're a good supporter. You are awesome. Thank you so much for your support in this channel. It is so helpful. This is stuff that's going on year round, all the time. And Ken's there helping me out. So that's wonderful. That's true for, I think we have 6 total members of the channel. And Ken, you've been there for a while. So, and that's awesome. So if you join the membership, it's like $3 or $4, I think, a month to join. You get some extras. And this is something I wanted to mention because I want to do kind of a membership drive, okay? Because we need to build that up a little bit. As far as becoming a member, when you get that, you get exclusive tabs on your browser for this channel. And in there, that gives you the ability to have chats one-on-one with me, okay? So that's the wonderful thing, and it's only for the members. You don't see this if you're not a member. You also get a badge. If you'll notice, Ken's got a little green fleur-de-lis next to his name. Okay, that's why I know he's a member. Okay, so if you would like a little fleur-de-lis, and the longer you're a member, that changes different colors. You can turn yellow, it can turn purple. There's a lot of different. The longer you're with as a member, the different levels you get for your badge. You also get special emojis. I believe recently we added one. It was the world, the WAMU, the world crest. I believe we added that as an emoji. So these are things that you could add on to your experience with the channel. So definitely think about it. You also get the videos that come out. They're exclusive for members. Members get a 4K version. It's a higher resolution, and it's really nice if you have it on a big screen. It's not the best face. I'm sorry, I can't do much about that, but still, it's at least it's higher res. So when I show a picture or a diagram, it's much easier to read. They get a higher resolution, and there's a section in the middle with exclusive content for members. Okay, so and that's in every standard video that comes out on Wednesday. They get them a little early, and this is the wild thing: there's no ads. No ads. The whole thing is you already paid for it. See, so as being a member, there you go. Thank you, Ken. But if you're thinking about it, helping out with the channel, this is something that you can do. And I appreciate all the help that you do for scouting, and I appreciate you helping out with the channel. The sound, we had problems with our sound. This, I'm going to lift it up, so there might be some banging sounds. I'm going to lift it up. This was actually purchased by members. They actually did this was the fundraising for this. The sound for this live event was added on. I personally think that the video isn't that great. I do the standard video on a different camera. The camera I use here is just a standard. I don't even know what you call it. It's a little tiny thing. And it doesn't have the resolution. It doesn't have the lighting corrections that would be pleasant. I do test it a little bit, but that's the lighting, and that's something I would like to improve and make these better live and better productions. So, and I think that the less distractions you have on the ugly face, the better. Okay, so a better camera would definitely help. So that's a fun thing. Maybe I'll get some new glasses too, and figure out how to make this, instead of being like this big, make it maybe this big, so I can see it. It's really tiny. Oh my gosh. I am working on some other stuff, some multimedia things that are coming out, and I'll try to put a post out there for everybody. So those are the neat things coming up. So, but Ken, thank you so much. I'm a stickler for this. That particular emoji, I'm going to change it because you can see some of the white edges on the emoji when it shouldn't be there. So I need to work on that. So the shadowing, I think, is what's on there. If you have a white background, no problem. But most people view this stuff on a small cell phone, or they will view it on a dark mode. So, and then that's when that little edge comes up. So I want the icons, the emojis, to look good. So that's just me trying to be a little more specific about it. So, but I think we have done our little promotion for membership. Now, obviously, I'm all ears when it comes to membership. I only have one level. Okay. Now, Patreon, I've had that longer. And Patreon, I have about the same number of members there. The thing is I've got 5 regular members for about the same price as on here. They get the videos early. That's kind of the deal. The minute I get it uploaded, that's when they get notified. So on Patreon. But Patreon actually has a sponsor. And the actual sponsors on the end of the video, you'll actually see the name of sponsors, and the sponsorship is a higher price, but it's wonderful. Okay, and with Patreon and joining YouTube. Those two things I'm really hoping, as I knock the microphone over, I'm hoping those two things will definitely improve our channel and make things much better. So, but I think that's about all. If you have a question, please feel free to send me an email. I think YouTube isn't as crazy as they were in the past. In the past, I was not allowed or able to tell you my email address. They got very upset and they sent me all kinds of notes and said, "Oh, you're going to have so many I never had a problem, but definitely go to the About button, hit the button that says email, and you'll see my email. And it's real simple, ScouterStan@gmail.com. Not hard. Oops. Well, anyways, that they wouldn't let me tell you that, but so just to put that out there. But definitely send me something. If you have an idea for a video, outline it. I'd love to research it and find out more information about it. So definitely do these things. Thank you so much for all you do in scouting. And I'm going to start switching it over because there's an ending thing here, I think. But it is wonderful, all that you do in scouting. Keep up that hard work, and I'll see you on the trail.